In this short video, I'm going to be going through how you can double your agency or consultancy in 2 to 3 months or less. Now, the reason I'm doing this video is we have recently had one of our clients, his name is Angus Holmes, take his agency from having literally 2 kind of commission nothing clients to doing 5 figures a month. Now, he was able to do this in literally 60, 90 days. And I kind of want to break down how he did it, but from a different perspective. Now, I want to just tell a quick story. I was in London 2 months ago, and I was at a conference called AdCon. And you can kind of see here in this little document that I was at the AdCon conference. This was in Wembley in London. And one of the speakers there, his name was Nick Bradley from his business called Scale Up. Now, one of the things that he talked about in that event was the fact that they can take underperforming businesses and double their growth in 2 to 3 months. And so that's where this concept comes from of how to double your agency consultancy in 2 to 3 months or less. Now with Angus, he 10x'd his agency in 2 to 3 months. So anyway, this was a paraphrase from Nick Bradley, but I want to take you through a case study of actually how would you do that? You know, if someone's saying, I can double your growth or double your business in 2-3 months, how is the question. So we're going to go into a case study of a private equity takeover that happened in 2003. Now, you might have heard of BlackRock. A lot of people know about BlackRock. A little bit probably less known nowadays is Blackstone. Now, here's the thing. Blackstone was founded by 2 partners, Peter Peterson, I'm pretty sure, and Steve Schwartzman. Now, these guys specialized in private equity, and they had an analyst or a partner called Chin Chu. Now, he was known to be quite good at spotting businesses that they could take over and improve and sell for a profit. So that means that the core business is good, but there are parts of the business that can be easily improved with a private equity firm going in, taking it apart and putting in key pieces to make it work. So with that kind of background, let me just take you through essentially what happened. This is from Wikipedia. On 16th of December 2003, the US private equity firm Blackstone announced a takeover of Celanese, which was a German chemical business. Shareholders formally approved the offer from Blackstone, and Blackstone completed the acquisition. Now, under Blackstone, a number of streamlining initiatives were undertaken, and several acquisitions were made. Now, 2 years later, okay. Now, here's the thing with private equity. The reason that they need to have such fast growth is because they use what's called a leveraged buyout. Now, without going into the technical details, basically they use debt, and usually they finance 2/3 of the acquisition of a company, and they have a short time window to take that company from where it is to get a massive profit, okay? And they need to do that because they're usually financing 2/3 of the deal. I think that's about what it is. So what they did with Celanese is so Chin Chu could see that there was a clear underutilization of assets. There was a clear underperforming areas of the business that they could easily improve. And one of the biggest things that he identified was the fact that if he was able to transition the company from a German-based stock market into a US-based stock market, because there's simply more demand for shares and investments on a US-based stock market, they could literally create 20% of share value out of nothing. Now, this is not like a tiny bit of money. If, say, the company was worth $5 billion, literally by changing the stock market that the company was placed on, they could create $1 billion out of thin air. And that's literally what this guy did. I'm not saying it was technically $1 billion exactly, but he created 20% of extra value literally by shifting the company from stock market A in Germany to stock market B in the US. I'm pretty certain that that was the story. If I'm wrong, comment below, but I'm pretty sure that was the story. Now, fast forward to 2005, bear in mind, this was just 2 years later, okay? They IPO'd onto the New York Stock Exchange, and then fast forward 2 years later, when Blackstone sold the last of its shares, it had made 5 times what it had invested in it, and its co-invested collected a $2.9 billion profit. Okay, cool. So how does that affect your agency, and how does it affect your consultancy and the ability for it to double in 2 to 3 months or less? So let's actually take a look at how they created $2.9 billion of profit, some components of it literally out of thin air. So number one is there was slow decision making caused by bureaucratic management at Celanese when they first purchased it. So one issue with a lot of agency owners is you're way too slow. Not you, but someone else, some other agency owner. You're too slow to make a decision and implement a change. I've found this in businesses that your ability to get feedback and implement that feedback and then so let's just say you go to someone on the 20th of July and they give you feedback and say, hey dude, you've got to do this, and this. Come back to me in 7 days, report your findings. Most agency owners will take that and they won't do anything and they'll be like, oh, I need more time. That's why you're not growing fast enough, number one. That's why typically businesses don't, I don't want to say you, typically agencies don't go fast enough because the feedback loop is way too slow. So you need to, as soon as you get feedback from someone who's spotted something that needs to happen in the business, you need to implement that straight away. Super important. Otherwise, you're just going to go too slow. Okay, now the second issue that was in the company was a low status stock market. So the company was in a stock market where there wasn't really much investors wanting to buy stock there. Now here's a crazy thing. That company would be the same company if it was transferred to a different stock market. But because it was placed on the wrong shelf, so to speak, it was way harder to sell. And because it was way harder to sell the share, it was harder to acquire capital. So for them to actually borrow money to grow the business was more expensive simply because they were on the wrong stock market. So if we convert that to an agency kind of scenario, it would be, are you placing your business in the wrong audience or on the wrong platform? So you can create the best, most amazing marketing campaign. You could be the most talented marketer or agency in the world, but if you're on the wrong platform and on the wrong channel where your audience is not at, or you're in the wrong audience, it's not going to work. Okay? Now let's look at number 3, poor performing business lines. This is a good one. So one of the things in the company is that they had many parts of the company that had poor performance in different business lines. So they were selling products that weren't really working. So the amount of money that they put into that product only produced a 1.2 return, while money that they would put into a different product produced a 5.0 return, right? So you'd want to divert as much resource and allocation into businesses that are going to produce a much greater return on capital, right? So you always want to look at where am I getting the greatest return on capital in the business, okay? And so that's for a lot of agencies. If you have a laundry list of services, I do SEO, website design, Facebook ads, Google ads, TikTok ads, content, appointment setting. You need to literally cut out 80% of what you're doing and do that 20% that's actually going to move the needle forward. And the more that you can do that, efficiencies on top of efficiencies on top of efficiencies, the greater your kind of growth is going to be, because you're going to be diverting resources into higher growth, multiple business ideas, right? So if you pour money into an idea that's never going to work, that's dead money. Okay, number 4, core business and cash flow were good. So if you've got a good core business and cash flow is good, you want to identify, what is it about my core business that is good? What are really, if we pull it apart, what are the key components to the cash flow that's coming in that is making this business work? It could be your ability as a founder. It could be your time that you spend with your customers. It could be your sales ability as a founder. It could be your ability to come up with really good offers, come up with really good creatives. It could be your ability to get really good results. It could be your ability to do really good media buying on Google Ads. Whatever the case may be, you want to look at the core business that creates the cash flow, and then you want to duplicate that as much as you can. So if your expertise is media buying, you want to take your expertise as a media buyer and turn that into a process. And then you want to create a really good system around that process, and then find really good key individuals that can take that and grow the business with you alongside you using your system. Now, number 5, which is ultimately Chin Chu mentioned, who was the guy who drove this deal. So, I know that you only, yeah. So Chin Chu's the guy that drove this deal. He identified that the reason that this whole deal worked was the strong market cycle. So being in the right market at the right time is probably the most critical factor to your business, right? Because demand is everything. Someone asked me the other day, how should I value myself? And I said, that's really not a real question, because the value of you is not about you. It's about what the market will bear. And what the market will bear is a function of supply and demand. How many people are in your market supplying the same thing as you at the same quality as you, and how much demand is there for the services that you offer? So if you offer a service that people don't have demand for, it really doesn't matter what you think you're worth, because people are not going to buy it. Like if I offered to, breed peacocks, how many people are going to buy that? No one, because maybe like 1 out of 100,000, because it's just a service. The reason that came into my head is we used to have a peacock that would come into our front lawn when I was a kid. It was the weirdest thing. And it would I think someone was illegally had a pet peacock. Anyway, so that no matter how much I market that, people are not going to buy it because there's no demand for it. So really, you need to charge what the market will bear. And the first person who told me that was Cole Gordon, but it's not even Cole Gordon told me that. It's just common sense, because it's like, if there's demand for it and then there's supply, it's really a factor of those two things. Okay, so let's break this down. How does this help you double your agency? So the first thing is creating value, okay? So you need to be able to create value in your agency. Now, if you're at 0 or 1 to 2 clients, what you need to focus on is skill and experience. Don't try and watch too many YouTube videos, although ironically you're watching this YouTube video now. You got to get skill and experience, and then results. They're the 3 things that you need to focus on before you try and make $1 million in your first year. What I will say, that there are some people that can make $1 million in their first year. I would say 1 out of 50 or 1 out of 100 people who attempt it will do it. But you can make $100,000 in your first year, 100%. I would say if I was to put a number out it, 5 out of 10 people can make $100,000 a year with a brand new agency if they really focused on this stuff. But most people don't really. Skill, experience, results. This then translate into valuable business units, okay? So what you want to do is turn yourself into a valuable individual, and then use your value, which is not your mum thinks you're cute and special and your girlfriend thinks it's not that. The value is the value that you provide the company. I literally, by being in this company, can increase the close rate by 10%. By being in this company, I can reduce cost per call by 50%. By being in this company, I can improve client results by 30. Like, there's got to be something tangible to the value that you create, okay? It is important to have an ego. It is important to be confident, but at the same time, it's also important to be realistic with that confidence to know where do you actually bring the value. Cool. So you can then translate your value. So say you're really good at closing. You can turn your closing skill into a business unit, okay, in your business, right? This is what I did. So I am good at closing. I've done 3,000 sales calls. I closed 600 of those calls. And that was from newbie to now, okay? So I know how to close. I now train a team of about 3 people on how to close. And we got one guy who was about 0%. He's closing now at 25.31%. I checked the numbers today. 25.31%. So every call that he gets on, he'll close 1 out of 4. I mean, that's pretty good, right? If you've been in the agency game for a while, you know that 25% is pretty decent. Okay, cool. Now, so I've already said this, in your agency, you need to become a person of skill, then experience. Okay, so the starting point is always knowledge, then application. Now, here's the thing. If we're going back to creating value down to your skill and experience, then results. If you have no money and time, then you need to spend every waking hour learning what you need to between eating, showering, and sleeping, okay? Now, I would recommend reading books. I read 100 business books in like 2 years. And that was about a book a week. No joke. And I'd buy them on Kindle, $10, and I'd read them as quickly as I can. I would avoid YouTube as much as possible because YouTube is usually these dudes trying to get you onto a call. Ironically, I'm going to try and get you onto the call at the end of this video. So it is ironic. But what I'm trying to do is give you insights that you wouldn't usually get from some guru, right? So that's why I'm giving you a practical example of Chin-Chu acquiring Celanese through Blackstone, because there's real world examples that you can take and run with. So that's why I would avoid YouTube as much as possible. Maybe just avoid my videos in the future if you want. Read books. Read books about private equity. Read books about marketing, copywriting, direct response, sales, systems, HR, recruiting. All of these things are important to actually growing a company, okay? So the starting point is always knowledge, then application. So the knowledge comes from the books, but there's got to be a point, and this is where a lot of people get stuck, is they watch YouTube all the time and they think that's growing their business. When actually, you've actually just got to go out and do shit. You know what they say, FAFO, F-A-F-O, F around and find out. Just try stuff. But you want to try stuff based on knowledge. So don't just try stuff randomly. Try stuff based on knowledge, because that'll take you from 0 to 30 out of 100. The experience will take you from 30 to 60. Then, getting your next 20 clients will take you from 60 to 70. Getting your next 100 clients will take you from 70 to 80. And then you're in the top 20% of service providers. So you definitely want to get the knowledge first, then apply. But what most people do is they stay stuck in the knowledge loop, and they're just constantly watching stupid YouTube videos where the thumbnail is people going, I make so much money. Shut up. Just read a book, read a few books, apply the knowledge, get the skill, and then get actual real-time feedback. Okay, like I said, I'm preempting my notes. It's very important you apply the skill in real life and get real life feedback. The real life feedback is valuable data, and instantly by doing this, you have created value. Exactly. Okay. So here's the thing. When you actually take knowledge and you apply it in real time, that is more valuable than the original knowledge. And the reason it's more valuable is because it's working now. And what the thing is people will pay more for something that is working now than what was working 20, 30, 40 years ago when some of these books were written. So by actually applying the concepts now and getting data and feedback, you've literally created value out of thin air. Now, if we were to cycle up your ability to create value, this is how you'd sort of extrapolate it out into a company. So say there's you create value by building skills and then getting experience. You then want to turn your experience into systems that get results. Now, what you want to do is take a person who doesn't have any skill, you want to give them your system that works, and then train them using your value of skill and experience to then turn that person into a high profit individual. Now, if you have a high profit individual and a high profit system, that equals scalable growth. So this is a kind of insight into, why companies don't scale. And when I say companies, I mean agencies that are trying to go from 15K to 100K, is they hire people that are bad and they don't really have good systems. And so if you have a bad individual and a bad system, that's very unscalable. So you need to have somebody who's willing to take the journey with you to learn the skills and experience and utilize your system. Now, there's a few components to what this person looks like. You can turn that person into a high profit individual with a high profit system. So that's kind of everything in a nutshell. If you apply the concepts of spotting underutilization in your own company, act as if you're a private equity firm looking at your own company. Where are the gaps? It could be your personal, usually it's personal if it's a low revenue company. It could be a slow decision making. It could be the fact that you're not positioning yourself into the right audience, in the right channel or platform. It could be that you're offering too much and really you've got to simplify to grow. You got to actually have a good core business where you have some sort of mechanism or process in your company that makes you different, that allows you to get a outsized return. And then you want to be in a strong market cycle. And this is probably the most important, apart from personal effectiveness, which is this kind of stuff, is if you're not in a strong market cycle, you're going to struggle, right? Because if you're not in a market where there's no demand, it's not a good thing. Now, with that in mind, guys, thanks for watching. So we have a daily conference in our company Scalable and in our internal clients who are in our agency incubator. If you guys want help in scaling and you want to jump on these calls like this and get your business torn apart and identify where the growth can be found in your business in a business audit, click the link below, chat with our team or chat with me. We'll do a business audit with you. And yeah, thanks for watching. Cheers.